Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. In today's video, we are going to be taking a first look at the game Sensuikan, Japanese Fleet Submarines in World War II. This is a solitaire submarine game by Gregory M. Smith and Brett Renison. It is published by Compass Games. And planning on doing this in September, so I thought I would do a little first look now and get that out of the way, and then we can do some gameplay next month, which is less than a week away. So here's a look at the back of the box. It is relatively low complexity. It's 4 out of 10. Time scale is monthly or longer patrols. It's an abstract map scale. Unit scale, individual subs, aircraft, weapon systems, crew members, torpedoes, and ammunitions. It is a one-player game, but there are options for 2 or more. Suitability for solitaire, well, it is a solitaire game, so that's 10 out of 10. Average time to play, 15 to 20 minutes per patrol, 5 or more hours per career, and it's 14 and up for the recommended age. So here you see kind of the familiar look if you've played any of Gregory Smith's other submarine games, such as The Hunters, The Hunted, Silent Victory, etc., etc. They all kind of share the same basic DNA. This one is a little bit different because the Japanese submarines operated in a more varied, diverse way than, say, the U.S. Navy or the Kriegsmarine did during World War II. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on the back of the box. We're gonna flip it over, open it up, and take a look inside. Okay, here we go. Baggies. And we've got our dice, and you can see we've got a variety here. We've got a couple 10-siders, we've got 2 white and 1 red 6-sider, and a 20-sided die as well. So assortment in Japanese colors, right? Red and white. Then we have these cards that have been kind of started. I guess Gregory Smith started adding these a few games ago now. Setup cards and sequence of play, pretty useful. You just keep it there, and you can just flip through it as you're going. So you can see on the very first one is 0, prepare to play. So this is your setup card, and then you go to card 1, card 2, etc. There's only a handful, but these are pretty useful. It's a nice touch. Then we have our rule book here that we'll take a quick spin through. So of course you start with, well, let me zoom in. Start with zooming in. That's what we start with. Okay, table of contents. Runs 32 pages. Of course, some of that is optional rules. The last, about 3 pages of that, from 27 to 30, are optional rules. You got some example of play, designer notes, bibliography credits, and the index on the back, I'm sure. Introduction, so you get an idea of, the story behind the Japanese submarines. Now, again, their missions and record of in World War II is not really all that well known outside of Japan and outside of historians who are interested in seeing it. But we will start to learn more about it. That's one of the cool things about this game. For example, Japan started World War II with 64 submarines. Of these, 21 were older, obsolete types that would be of little use other than training. Still, with over 40 first-line submarines, they posed a significant threat to the American Navy. Japanese doctrinal use of their submarines, however, never allowed them to fulfill their true potential. They were forced into picket line duties, reconnaissance, and in launching aircraft to bomb mainland America to little effect. The effort mainly dwarfed the meager results. It's interesting to think of what the submarine force could have achieved had it been wielded more like the American submarine force. Japanese pre-war doctrine was that the submarine's main purpose was to conduct surprise attacks on the enemy's main force, to act as an advance force while again attacking the enemy's main force and providing reconnaissance. There was never a real mention of using submarines for what they do best, interdicting an enemy lines of communication and logistics by destroying shipping. So again, unlike the German Navy and the American Navy, they were not used against shipping, at least not primarily used against shipping. So the game is going to put you in command of a Japanese fleet submarine during World War II. And our mission will be to destroy as much Allied shipping and as many capital ships as possible, but primarily you will be conducting special missions as assigned by the combined fleet. So again, there's that difference. Okay, so then comes our object of the game. General overview. General play revolves around conducting numerous patrol assignments and resolving any encounters at sea until safely returning to port. That is, basically could have been lifted from any of the Hunter's family of submarine games. This goes through how you conduct your patrols, refit your subs at the end of missions. You take damage, etc. You might need to have refit. It'll take a certain amount of time. Might prevent you from going out on your next patrol for a little bit, and so on. The game will end in July 1945, assuming you survive that long. Also, should you as captain be killed in action or be captured, or should your submarine be sunk, scuttled, or captured, the game immediately ends, right? So you play as long as you can, and if you can survive until July 1945, that would probably be a pretty impressive feat. In fact, I don't think I've ever played a career that I have survived all the way to the end of the war in any of the Gregory M. Smith games. And Silent Victory, the U.S. submarines in the Pacific, is probably the quote unquote easiest, but they're all very, very challenging to last a long time, especially the U-boats in the Hunted, when the technology had advanced to the point that the German U-boats were basically fighting a increasingly losing battle. Okay, so here's our display mat. This again is fairly standard. You track your damage in here. You track your ammunition. You have crew status down here and so on. Systems over here. So you're tracking damage and keeping track of how many torpedoes you have and gun rounds and your crew and all that stuff. And then you have your attack mat, which is similar to the other games. Gives you an attack sequence over here, and then you have 4 target tracks that you can you put your targets on here once you roll to find out what they are, and then as you hit them, they'll move up the track towards being sunk. So, or is it down? I think it's down the track actually, towards being sunk. So you get you monitor your progress, and of course the whole time you're trying to sink an enemy ship. If there are escorts around, those escorts or aircraft are trying to sink you. So it's a cat and mouse kind of thing. How to read the markers, right? So you get a submarine marker here. This is KD4. Corresponds to the type that you have selected. So each Japanese submarine type. Here we see the J2 class. So that one would say J2, I'm sure. And you keep that on the travel mat, usually. Then you've got all these other markers for your rank, any medals you may win, your crew quality. And again, that will grow over time as they gain experience. So you have your general crew, and then you'll have specific officers as well that can also get improved quality as time goes on. Random events, skills, armaments, right? So this is your torpedo types, whether in this case they use oxygen or steam. The Americans, for example, have steam and electric. I think the Germans are the same. So you get the idea, right? It's fairly standard. You've got aircraft here. The Kaiten, which was the kind of a suicide mission type of submarine, and damage markers for marking damage to your sub, wounds for crew, and then you also see expert, which can, again, specialized crew members like your engineer or your navigator, things like that. They can become experts. Game setup. So you pick your sub, you prepare the log sheet, place your corresponding display mat, and you put your markers on it. Then you'll have your attack mat nearby for when you're resolving engagements, and then you're going to just basically roll through various charts. It's a very narrative style of game, so if you're not familiar with it, you're basically following along in a story. There are some choices that will be made, but in a lot of instances, you're just rolling dice to see what happens. Your start date, you will start in December 1941 unless you choose a type that became available later in the war. And you can see the types and when they were available. So at the start of the war, you've got 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 11 types available, and then you have another one in September of 42, and then a few in 44, and a couple more in 45, really towards the very end of the war. Here's a close-up look at the submat, your log sheet. We'll see that when we look at the components. Same with this. Your torpedo load. So these are the various types. They do have an electric, the Type 92. And then the procedure and so on. Again, these will come out at various times during the war, I believe. Yeah, until July of 42, all Kaidai in Type B classes must load 12 Type 6 torpedoes, and the rest will be Type 95 oxygen torpedoes. The electrics start in 42 as well. So there you go. Ammo markers for your deck gun. Bombs, small bomb loads sometimes carried by the float planes available on certain classes of submarines. So some of the subs actually had planes on them, and those planes can carry bombs. Basing, so you'll be based at one of these various bases here. You've got Port Yokosuka, Paramushiro, Truk, New Guinea, and the Dutch East Indies. Then you'll have training schools that you will go through. So you've got the Kore Submarine School, Midget Sub School, the Kasuma Gaura Naval Air School, the Kaiten Training School. Yeah, suicide missions, basically. How to win the game. Full game consists of completing numerous patrols up to and through July 1945. The game may end early if your submarine sunk, or if you as captain are killed or taken prisoner after scuttling your submarine. While the results of each patrol may result in promotion and crew advancement, conversely, a drop in crew quality due to poor performance, the overall victory level is determined at the end of play based on total tonnage of ship sunk. So that's basically what it boils down to. And then you get levels. It's a defeat if you sink less than 10,000 tons. A draw is 10,000 to 20,000, basically. 20,000 or more is marginal victory. 50,000 to, well, 20,000 to 50,000, basically. 50,000 to 100,000 is a substantial. And a decisive is over 100,000 tons sunk. Sequence of play. I won't go through this very much. I'm assuming a lot of you are familiar with the way these games work. If not, you'll see it when I do my gameplay. And there's other gameplay videos for this game and others, including on my own channel for the other games in the series. You see Picket Line, which is a mission type. So these are some of the different missions that you may get in this game that you wouldn't have in the Hunters or Silent Victory, etc., like Reconnaissance and the Picket Line. You can see that's the battleship USS North Carolina. You're hoping to intercept American forces heading toward or away from an area. So you sit stationary hoping to find a warship target. In game terms, the major impact of being on a picket line is the submarine is not permitted to engage or follow any merchant shipping it may encounter. Success for picket line duty requires one warship or capital ship to have been engaged, not necessarily sunk. Midget sub attack, transport, delivery of supplies to Guadalcanal or New Guinea, for example, right? Strategic transport, Europe. This mission only applies to Type A and Type B submarines, all others re-roll. These were codenamed Yanagi, translated as Willow missions. You have been chosen to deliver strategic minerals and supplies to a German-controlled port in France. Interesting, okay. And you've got evacuations, travel to the Aleutians and help evacuate Japanese personnel. Okay, interesting. And then we've got the bombing missions. These were some forests in Oregon were bombed by submarine-launched aircraft in the hopes of causing large forest fires. There was also a plan late in the war to bomb the Panama Canal. Interesting. Kaiten attacked. Again, that's the suicide mission. Shore bombardment, mine laying. That's a traditional submarine activity. Passenger delivery, deck gun and aircraft removal, and Kaiten. Special mission completed. Major event markers. You got Pearl Harbor. And so on. Aircraft launch, midget submarines, aircraft module, the Kaiten module, combat, how combat works. It works in rounds. and there may be additional rounds of combat if the encounter is not completed in the first round. This is at the submarine captain's whim. He is not forced to continue chasing a damaged ship, for example. Ship encounters, right? So different types of encounters. Ship encounters, capital ship encounters. So that's a big warship, like the battleship North Carolina. Then warship encounters, like in this case, a cruiser. Convoy encounters, that's merchants. Aircraft and random events. Time of day, you have day and night. Different. They both affect the encounter, how it works out. Encounters with ships and attacks against shipping, how all that works. You can exceed test depth, how escorts can detect you. Automatic escape, a roll of a natural 2 results automatically in a result of not detected and the submarine escapes. Then it goes through additional rounds, how aircraft encounters work, following a convoy or ship, damage to your submarine, the various things that can happen. You do get to repair after combat is done. You can, under the direction of the engineer, attempt to repair any submarine the damage has received. Remove all damage markers from fixed equipment and systems. Flip all damage markers to the in-op sides for any item that failed the repair roll. If the engineer is an expert, again, crew quality, all rolls are made at -1, so you get a nice DRM there. And if the engineer is dead or seriously wounded, all repair rolls are made with a +1 DRM instead. You can have flooding, and you can have damage to the engines, the hull, the fuel tanks, the batteries, radar, and the crew. And crew injuries can be light wounds, serious wound, and or kill, and not or, no, not and, killed in action or killed in action. And then you have your various people that are on the boat. So you have your captain, your executive officer, your navigator, your medic, your engineer, then the crew, then possibly a pilot if you have an aircraft. Then we have submerged crew injury, multiple damage, refits. You always have a minimum refit of 1 month. So if patrol goes out in 7 of 43, suffers no damage, then August 43 is a refit month, and the boat's next patrol occurs in September. How you can abort, then you've got scuttle table, crew rescue table, skill effects, crew levels, etc. Awards, promotions, reassignment to a new boat, which can happen under certain circumstances, multiplayer and tournament rules. Then your optional rules for various freighters, small freighter 3,500, large 7,000, tanker 9,000. Capital and all other ships are still to be rolled for. So you can do this instead of rolling for your ships. Increased historical targeting. Boy, I'm tripping over my tongue today. Evasive maneuvers, variable escort quality, so you can have good, bad, or elite, I think. Or here you go. You got green, trained, veteran, and elite, right? Variable aircraft, same thing. Historical submarine IDs, if you wanted to use that for your boat's number. Optional special abilities. So you've got these here: lucky, tracker, capital ship killer, teamwork. The crew will start as veteran. And all of these, including carrier killer, that's pretty cool. Tanker killer, convoy killer, deck gun expert, midget submarine expert, all kinds of stuff. Here's your example of play. And then Greg Smith's designer notes here. They wanted, it was in response to the many requests that I, meaning Greg, received from players who wanted to experience the Pacific Submarine War from the Japanese side. As usual, easier said than done. One of the main issues was that the normal Hunter's game system was not applicable without major modification, because the Japanese viewed their submarine force quite differently than other nations. They had a decisive battle doctrine, is why they used that differently. So that is here's the index, which is always useful. And we have here all of our printed material wrapped in a band. Just take this off. I guess I'll rip it. So here's your captain mat. And you can see what you've got here in terms of he's got an optional ability, midget sub skills, air crew skills, Aircrew skills for the Aichi number 2 and for the Aichi number 3. His rank, his captain ratings, and then awards down over here and down there. And then down at the bottom, you've got your crew that goes along with your captain, like your XO, your engineer, your navigator, and your medic. Then we have a map for Pearl Harbor. So you can see you're going to move from, I guess, transit to recon to target, back to recon. On the back, you've got Diego Suarez. So this is in the Indian Ocean. And we have Sydney Harbor. This is, again, this is not something you see in the other games. This is special because of the special types of missions the Japanese performed. Sydney Harbor, and on the back we have Oregon for bombing, I guess, the Panama Canal, the Aleutians, and Malaya. So I guess it's kind of generic enough they could use it for either one. Here's another Diego Suarez and Guadalcanal. And then we get into our submats, which are also double-sided. So here we have the Sen Taka class. This is a late war model available for just the last month of the war. 3 of these were produced. So you see you've got some stats on it, a note about it, and then all of the statuses, your AA guns. Here's your reloads for your forward torpedo tubes, where you are in terms of the map, which you can, I think, use or not use, assuming that there is a map, and I would be surprised if there isn't. So you have a transit, and then on station, and then transit, current base mission at port, damage track, of course, and your crew status. And on the back of that, Sentoku class, available December 44. This looks like a big one. 400 feet, 5,200 tons. This one's 259, 1,290 tons. So this is a big sub. 400 feet long, that's pretty big for a submarine. They made 18, or 3 out of 18, I guess. Type B, this is an early war one. This one's almost as long, 356.5 feet. They made 26 of these. And then on the back, you've got Type A modified rather, which is available in May of 45. They only made 2 of those. So these kind of get mixed up sometimes, right, based on how they print them, I guess. But here we have one of the charts for the game. There are numerous charts in this game. This one shows you your capital ship targets. So for 41, which is, of course, Pearl Harbor, you've got all of the battleships from Battleship Row, and also a couple of the carriers, but they were not the carriers that were not in port, of course. And the 1941 UK ships, and then we got 42 US ships, 42 UK, and then 43 to 45 US ships. And these are Commonwealth warships, so that would be your Aussies and your Kiwis. On the back here, you've got warship targets. And we have more submarine types. There's a lot of these. And you can see there are a lot. We got more of the tables mixed in. So here's the Type C, also available in December of 41. On the back, Type B3, Type A, and on the back, the Type A midget submarine. So this one is a pretty small crew, I would assume. So that is definitely something different from what you get in the other games. Here's the Junsen J2, also available in December of 41. They only made 1 of these. 1. The J3, they made 2 of these. The Junsen JIM class, they made 5 of these, so by Junsen standards, that's a lot. This one they made 11 of, the C3, which was available as of May 44. And we have the Kaidai KD3 from 1941. They made 9 of these. This crew is 79. The KD4 also produced, also available at the start of the war. There were 3 of these. More charts. So here's our patrol assignments. So you can see in 41, you're going to get, this is your menu of what you're going to pick up. 42, January through June, you get shift to these areas. July to December, you can see Guadalcanal is in here a few times. Then we go to 43, late 43, early and late 44, and 45 through the end of the war. And you can see there's a lot of Iwo and Okinawa in here. And your AA charts and aircraft encounter charts. On the back is the encounter chart. So this is based on where you are. You roll your 2d6 and you're going to get, obviously it's clustered around the 7, right? That's your most common result in a 2d6 roll. So you'll see if you roll Snake Eyes, you get a capital ship if you're on the West Coast or the Indian Ocean. Which, and then where else? Midway, you can get it on a 2. I'm looking for capital. Here's a 3, so that's a slightly higher possibility for Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and Tarawa there. So that's interesting. Here's submarine school. You run your officers through here, apparently. Your captain, your XO, and your engineer. Then you have spare time that you can do. The captain chooses one of these 3 activities on how to spend their spare time. You can do martial arts training and gain the Shibumi, effortless perfection marker, to be placed on their captain chart. Extra study time. They start the game with a free submarine upgrade marker and also get -2 to their first promotion attempt, and Gosai, meditation, which gets them a good luck charm. Then graduation. On the back, we've got Midget Submarine School and the Naval Air School. Here are some of the targets, small freighter targets. So these are historical ships that were sunk. I believe that's usually how they do it. That was sunk by Japanese submarines during the war. Then you have large freighters and tankers on the other side. Then we have another Pearl Harbor attack from Midget Sub, Operation Divine Turtle. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The target zone is here. Battleship Row, right? Here's Ford Island. Back of that has Divine Turtle number 2 in Sydney Harbor. Then we have 2 more mats here. We have the Kaiten KD-7, which is available in September of 42. There were 10 of these produced. Kirai Sen class, December of 41. There were 4 of these produced. And the Kaidai KD-5 class, December 41. And the KD-6, also December 41. They were 8 and 3, respectively. So that, I think, is everything. Well, this is the Midget Sub stuff here. So you've got Midget Sub encounters and net, Midget Sub events, Midget Sub recovery, Midget Sub damage, and the damage listings. Then you've got our torpedo deck gun to hit, attack damage. So if you hit them with a torpedo or deck gun, they each have their own damage column there. And these are the, if you're closer, you have a higher chance of hitting the target, of course. Out at long range, it gets a little bit more dicey, and then you have your 2-hit modifiers. There are also DRMs for damage as well. How much damage does it take to sink various ships, right? Capital ships take 5 to 7. Over 10,000 tons takes 4, and so on, down to 1, which is a small ship of less than 1,000 or less. Escort detection, this is the one you want to end up with a 2 to 8, being undetected. Again, a bunch of modifiers. Escort and air attack. Submarine damage, this is where you'll roll if your sub gets hit. And then the damage listings, which lists out all the effects of being damaged. Okay, here's our attack mat. So as you can see, you've got different targets. I guess if you get a capital or warship target, it's always going to be target 1, and you can see it takes, if it's a sub, you can sink it with, I guess, 1 hit, because this top line is just going to be what the target is. So you'll put your ship counter here. So if it's the North Carolina, for example, you'd put North Carolina here, and then you would know you need to be up in this area to actually sink it. And again, this is combat versus escorted ships. On the back, you can have optional submarine commander names, right? Surname and then first name, because that's how the Japanese do it, right? It's surname first, then first name, right? Then we've got optional variable escort quality chart is here. Chart B10 optional circular run. for your torpedoes, variable aircraft quality, random events, and evasive maneuvers. On the back, we've got the Kaiten encounters, Kaiten training school, damage detection and attack, and then the events for the Kaiten. Aircraft display mat. So I haven't seen this before, but this would be the aircraft that were carried by the subs. You can see there are 5 different types and what they do, I guess. Air crew skills, mishap and malfunctions and recovery. And then the Kaiten display, which was the suicide submarine. And this is for Iwo Jima and Okinawa, of course, late war. And the transit target zone. Yeah, school markers, launch check. So you can have a successful launch or a failure. 1 to 5 is no malfunction. A 6 is an early detonation if you're going to attack the target. And we have float plane encounter charts here. Bombing chart, air-to-air combat chart. Here and here. AA fire, and on the back you have the Ulithi Atoll, which was a Kaiten attack, it looks like. Kikusui group in November of 44, Congo, January 45, and Tembu in April of 45. So that is the bulk of the material. I would imagine the only things really left would be like the log sheet. This is the log sheet. You can see it starts in December, it goes all the way through to July of 45. And at the bottom, you'll get your total patrols, missions, ships sunk, and tonnage. You've got your boat and your captain, and you put your patrol things in here. Any targets you may encounter and or sink will be noted in here, and then you tally up the tonnage for each one. And then, of course, not every month will have a patrol because you do have refits of at least 1 month between patrols. They are double-sided, and you can also copy them, but they provide you with quite a few. And last but certainly not least, we have the operations map, and this isn't last. There's one more thing. Extra points if you can guess what that thing is. Something common to war games that we have not yet seen. So here's our operations map, right? So you can see your ports here, where you may start, right? There's Truk and New Guinea. And then you've got all of these extra transit boxes for moving to distant places like Pearl Harbor, Panama Canal, and the United States West Coast. And then, of course, you've got Iwo Jima, Okinawa, the Marianas, Philippines, Leyte Gulf, etc. All right on here. Finally, if I can get it out, we have the counter sheets. They are in plastic. So we have some markers on here. I'll just show them this way. So here are some of your awards that you can get. And we've got markers. These would be your kind of traits, I guess. Capital ship killer, carrier killer, etc. And then some of your expert things, deck gun expert, weapons, aircraft maintenance, etc. Rank here. Hedgehogs, you got pilot markers, crew markers, passengers, target markers, so tankers, LCIs, LSTs, light cruisers, heavy cruisers, destroyers, escorts, etc. And then named ships, Prince of Wales, Repulse, Warspite, etc. all the way down here. There's our North Carolina. Then in here, you've got damage markers. Here are the submarine markers for the Japanese. Here are their aircraft. You've got the various torpedoes as well. On the back, you can also see them as you've got some wound markers, your ammo markers, experts for your crew, and so on. So I would bust these out, but they're sealed up pretty good. And I'm just, since we're already over 30 minutes, I want to wrap this up. So that is going to do it. That was our look at Sensuikan, Japanese fleet submarines in World War II, solitaire sub game from Gregory M. Smith and Brett Renison, published by Compass Games. Look for gameplay in September. Thank you for watching. It is greatly appreciated. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. While you're here, if you would consider liking, sharing or hyping the video, or any combination thereof, or possibly even becoming a subscriber. That would all be great. But even if you don't do any of that stuff, hopefully you will come back and see something else down the road. Shout out to my channel members. Shout out of appreciation for their support of the channel. There are 2 levels, hexed and countered. You can get more information on that via the join button. But otherwise, we are done here for now. Until next time, I am Joe. This is the Hexed and Countered channel. And as always, happy gaming.